What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. Alright, so I thought I would go ahead and continue with this top 10 small forwards list. Just to do a brief recap, at number 10, I had James Worthy. At number 9, Scottie Pippen. Number 8, Dominique Wilkins. Number 7, Rick Barry. Number 6, Elgin Baylor. Number 5, Kevin Durant. Number 4, John Hondo Havlicek. And at number 3, I had Dr. J. Julius Erving. Now, as I said with Julius Erving, I think the top 3 guys have a case for being the greatest small forwards to ever play the game. So at number 2, of course, I have Larry Bird. Now, when I first started doing this list about 10 years ago, I had Larry Bird as the greatest small forward ever. Okay? So you already know who I think is the greatest. There are going to be some people that's going to disagree with that, but whatever. Larry Bird, to me, though, does have a case to be the greatest small forward. He doesn't have the longevity of a LeBron James, or to a lesser extent, Dr. J. But there was a window where you could argue Larry Bird may have been the greatest player the game has ever seen. 1983, 84, 85, 86. There was a time when some people were saying this might be the greatest player we've ever seen. And you do have to wonder if he had stayed healthier, like say after 88, if he had another 4 or 5 years of health, what could have been. What could have been, it's a lot of what could have been with the Boston Celtics. What would have happened if, say, Len Bias hadn't overdosed? What would have happened if Reggie Lewis didn't have the heart issue? What would have happened if Bird, his back didn't start conking out on him, or his feet didn't start fucking up on him? There's a lot of that. But be that as it may, with the career that he had, he was one of the most dynamic players the game has ever seen. He was a phenomenal shooter, one of the greatest scorers the game has ever seen, one of the greatest shooters. He still has an argument for being the greatest shooter of all time. He has an argument. Look, have we ever seen anybody that could shoot three? Now, look, nobody's going to be able to shoot from the range that Steph Curry does consistently. And no, I'm not going to argue about Curry being the greatest three-point shooter. But have we ever seen anybody like Larry Bird that could shoot from three, but shoot from the mid-range as well as he did? Had to make the variety of shots that he did. Shoot from both hands, be able to score with both hands, shoot with both hands, and in the paint, being able to score the way he did, and to be able to score with his back to the basket. Kevin Durant couldn't even do that. Kevin Durant cannot consistently back somebody in and score with his back to the basket. Bird could do that. And when you incorporate all of that, when you incorporate the high field goal percentage, when you incorporate the 37+% three-point percentage, in an era where a good percentage was like 30%, when you incorporate the fact that he was an 88.6% free throw shooter, when you look at the fact that he was able to average 10 rebounds a game for his career, whereas LeBron James has never even averaged 10 rebounds for a season, despite the extreme physical advantages that he has, and when you consider the fact that even though LeBron James has been running the offense on most teams, he only averages about one more assist per game than Larry Bird. I don't know, man. I have to give the edge to Bird. I think Bird was a better basketball player overall. But anyway, you look at the resume: three-time NBA champion, two-time NBA Finals MVP, three-time NBA Most Valuable Player, 12-time NBA All-Star, NBA All-Star Game MVP, nine-time All-NBA First Team, All-NBA Second Team, three-time NBA All-Defensive Second Team, NBA Rookie of the Year, NBA All-Rookie Team, three-time NBA Three-Point Contest Champion, twice on the 50-40-90 club. That means 50% shooting, 40% from three, 9% from the foul line. The Associated Press Athlete of the Year in 1986, NBA Lifetime Achievement Award in 2019, NBA Anniversary Team for the 50th and 75th anniversary teams. His number 33 is retired by the Boston Celtics. Now, I'm not going to gloss too much into his coaching career or his collegiate career because I want to focus more on the NBA career. But I do want to say that Larry Bird was, of course, initially playing college ball at the University of Indiana, but he had a bit of a culture shock being from this little small town of French Lick and going and playing Bloomington. It just fucked him up. So for a year, he went back into the private sector working, and then he enrolled in Indiana State University and began playing for the Sycamores. And really, just based upon the play of Larry Bird himself, he took that team all the way to the 1979 NCAA championship game after a couple of great individual years to play against Magic Johnson's Michigan Spartans. And what is it, Michigan State Spartans, I believe. Ultimately, Bird's team lost that championship game. Bird's team was at a bit of a disadvantage considering the fact that Bird was their only real legitimate scorer, the scoring threat. So, if my memory serves me correctly, they hounded Bird into 7 for 21 shooting in that game. But anyway, for his collegiate career, Bird averaged 30.3 points, 13.3 rebounds, and 4.6 assists per contest. He led the Sycamores to an 81-13 record during his tenure. And Larry Bird was actually selected with the 6th overall pick in the 1978 NBA draft, but he didn't play until 1979. But man, from the get-go, he helped to turn this franchise around. He and his first head coach, Bill Fitch, turned this franchise around, and they went from winning 29 games the first full year after the retirement of John Havlicek, 78-79, to winning 61 games Bird's first year. And ultimately, that would be the thing, man. He helped to turn that franchise around. It wasn't just him. 1980, they acquired Robert Parrish in a trade with the Golden State Warriors. And also, I think in 80, they drafted a young, gangly, Fred Gwynn-looking ass nigga from Minnesota named Kevin McHale. And they formed the most formidable front line in the history of the NBA. But the Boston Celtics would go on to win 3 NBA championships, 1981, 84, and 86. And the 85-86 team is considered by many to be one of the greatest, if not the greatest team in the history of the NBA. They went 67-15 during that stretch. Larry Bird also had a stretch between 1983 and 1986 where he won 3 consecutive MVPs. And during that stretch, Bird averaged 26.2 points, 10.1 rebounds, 6.7 assists, 1.8 steals, 50.4% shooting from the floor, 39.2% from 3-point range, which is great today. He did this in the 80s, and 88.9% from the foul line. And Bird became a better shooter as his career progressed. Early on, he was an 83, 84% free throw shooter. But toward the end of his career, man, he was phenomenal. Give you an idea what I'm talking about. Even after the injuries, Bird's shooting stroke was legit. Between 88 and 92, Bird averaged 21.5 points, 9.1 rebounds, 7.1 assists, 1.4 steals. He shot 46.6% from the floor. So his field goal percentage was down 37.2% from 3-point range, which is still pretty good. But he shot 91.9% from the foul line. I mean, he became automatic toward the end of his career. But Larry Bird was just known, along with Magic Johnson, as the two players that took what Dr. J did and catapulted and rose it to new levels as far as their rivalry is concerned. And they catapulted the NBA to new heights as far as ratings is concerned. And as a consequence of that, the NBA expanded and expanded. Look, 1980, you saw the Dallas Mavericks enter the NBA. And then the NBA expanded so much that in the late 80s, there were 4 new franchises that joined the NBA in a span of 2 seasons. The Orlando Magic, the Miami Heat, who of course have won 3 championships now. I think they've been to 4 finals. But anyway, the Orlando Magic, the Miami Heat, the Charlotte Hornets, and the Minnesota Timberwolves all joined the NBA during that period of expansion. It was phenomenal. And Larry Bird was universally respected in the NBA because of his ability to rise to the occasion. He was the most feared clutch player in the league. And, he became, I don't like saying a god, but he became a semi-god in the NBA. Now, were there some critics? Some. There were some that thought that maybe some of his praise was coming from the fact that he was white. Maybe some of the fans, there was something to that. There's something to that, when, you're an opposing crowd, you're supposed to be fans of, say, the Sixers, but when Bird scores a basket, you're clapping. You look around, all the white fans are clapping because Bird is going off. He's on the opposing team, But then again, you can make the argument, hey, we saw that with Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan could be going up against the Knicks or whoever, and he scores, and they're clapping. Although I would say, when Michael was doing it, all fans were doing it, not just the white ones. But anyway, that's not a knock on Bird. Bird, unfortunately, because of the way he played, which was a fan favorite type of style, like just going out there playing hard, jumping for scrambling to get loose balls, diving for whatever, right? Diving for loose balls, crashing the boards, fast breaking whenever they had to. Boston could play different styles. They could play the up and down frenetic pace, or they could play half court smash mouth basketball. But anyway, by 1988-89, the bumps and the bruises all started taking a toll on Bird. And Bird had been nursing a bad back for a while, but it really started bothering him by the late 80s. He started suffering from bone spurs in his feet by the '88 playoffs. He had to have surgery. I believe he missed most of the '88-'89 season because of that. When he came back in '89-'90, he was not the same player. He wasn't quite the same guy. He was still a great player, but he wasn't the same Larry Bird. He didn't move the same. His fluidity wasn't the same. And he changed his playing style a little bit. He became more of a facilitator afterwards. And he still had his moments. He still would have his moments. But, you know, the thing that I remember the most about Larry Bird when I was watching basketball back then is I remember this guy being praised a lot. But I just remember him sitting on the side, or actually laying down on the sidelines on his stomach, stretching his back, keeping his back straight, aligned, so that he could play basketball. You know, I had no idea that this guy was wearing this uncomfortable back brace under his uniform. I didn't know that he was seeing a chiropractor before every game to have his spine manipulated so that it'll be stable enough for him to play basketball for a 6-hour window. And he was doing this before every game. And it was torturous for him. You know, when he retired, August of 1992, after the Dream Team appearance, Bird was so emotionally done as far as playing basketball and with the back brace, having to depend upon it, that if I remember a story that when he retired, he went to the woods with the back brace and he put it out of his misery. He put that motherfucker in the woods, right? Like he went somewhere like deep in the woods and he took the back brace off and he shot it. He put like 2 loads into this fucking back brace, man. But then anyway, I think after he retired, he had some type of fusion surgery to relieve him of the back surgery, but he could never play basketball again. And you know, we know about his success as a coach, taking the Pacers to the Eastern Conference Finals. We know his success as a guy in the front office with the Pacers. Don't have to rehash all that stuff. Hall of Famer. But as a basketball player, man, Larry Bird was the absolute real deal. The real deal, man. Great moments. But tell me what you guys think.